Hello Cultists, this is Helios and welcome back to another Dead by Daylight video. I know it has been a very long time. The last time I ended up streaming was I think in June, and the last video I uploaded was you could say a long time ago, but I'm sure as you can tell by the thumbnail and the title of today's video, we are going over the upcoming proposed Billy changes for the 7.5.0 PTB coming up soon here in January. Now, it isn't said for sure exactly what the changes to Billy are going to be, but Billy changes are listed on there. In fact, they listed it as a Billy rework, which means that we could be expecting base kit changes as well as a complete add-on overhaul, which could be absolutely huge for Billy players and would be absolutely amazing for the game. So without further ado, let's get right into it. As you can see, Dead by Daylight did do a Twitter post on January 3rd. Looks like someone unwrapped a new chainsaw. I really like this picture. But as you can see, there's no smoke anymore, which could mean one of two things. One, they've just removed the smoke, right? Or two, they've removed overheat entirely. Both of those are a W. So if we get either of those, I'd be really happy with this. The reason the smoke is significant is because on some tiles where you couldn't see Billy, you could actually see his smoke coming off of his chainsaw above the tile. So it made it really easy to kind of outplay his chainsaw on some tiles. And if you scroll up a little bit more, we also have, I guess, a teaser at an Ormond rework coming up soon. I know they did say that they were going to do Swamp as well. I don't know if this is going to be on different updates or if they're tackling both on the same update. But either way, both those maps definitely need some changes. Swamp a little bit more than Ormond. I could probably think of 10 more maps that need changes more than Ormond. As long as the changes are good, I don't have an issue with it. I do definitely think Ormond should be kind of low on the totem pole of priority. If they change it, they change it. It is what it is. Now going on to the Billy changes here. Like I said, we don't know exactly what the Billy changes are going to be. But what I am going to go on ahead and do is I'm going to go over my proposed changes for Billy and what I think would really benefit him as a killer overall. Now, the first add-on we're going to be going over is Doom Engravings, and we are going to talk about his base kit first, but these add-ons are relevant because these are add-ons that I propose to actually be incorporated into his base kit. Doom Engravings in current patch increases the chainsaw movement speed by 20%, which it's always done that. And then with the addition of Overheat, they added the stipulation that it decreases heat generated while charging by 14%, which meant that you were able to actually use your engravings and chase more, whereas prior you actually had a really hard time going for curves or any type of cool plays with Billy because you would overheat so fast that you wouldn't even get a chance to go for anything. So they made this change to kind of make Doom Engravings a little bit easier to use. And then there's also the increased charge time by 12%. Now, some people run this with Death Engravings to run doubles, but I'll go over why that isn't exactly optimal, more of a fun play style here in a little bit. The next add-on I'm going to mention real quick is Low Pro Chains. For those of you who don't know what it does, basically when you chainsaw sprint into a pallet, you'll actually keep going and sprint through it. And then any survivors you hit during those 5 seconds will be hit for a single health state. It's basically a way to combat pre-dropping and a way to secure hits at pallets and force pallets into being more 50-50s rather than just having to break a pallet no matter what. Now, the reason I bring both these add-ons up is because these are both add-ons that I think should be incorporated into his base kit one way or another. I don't necessarily think both of them should make their way into his base kit, but I'm kind of at a point where I think it should be one or the other. If we're not going to incorporate Doom Engravings into base kit, we need to incorporate Low Pro Chains. Specifically because Low Pro Chains add so much counterplay to pallets that it actually allows Billy players to outplay them rather than just having to force a break and then chase after them. Low Pro also helps a lot with zoning, which is one of Billy's kind of biggest strengths in this game. But yeah, that's kind of my argument for Low Pro. For Doom Engravings, I actually want to push for Doom Engravings to be base kit more. Reason being is Doom chainsaw speed is absolutely fucking abysmal. So I want any opportunity physically possible to buff his base chainsaw speed. Now you may notice the stipulation, like I said earlier, increases the time it takes to charge a chainsaw. This might be a hot take. I honestly think that could be put into base kit, the 20%, and we could just remove the charge time. Because right now base charge time I believe is 2 seconds. I believe it's 2 seconds. I'd have to check in on that, but I'm pretty sure it's 2 seconds. So the base charge time is 2 seconds, which means only a 20% increase in speed, 2 seconds. I honestly don't think it would be overpowered. I think it would actually make Billy a lot more lethal, which is what we're going for here. because his lethality against good players is severely lacking. If he was able to have base kit speed, which is really, really good for zoning, with that 20% movement speed, he would be a powerhouse at zoning and be really, really good at what his strength is, which is zoning. It would still allow for the normal counterplays like the crouch techs, pre-dropping would still be strong, things of that nature would still be available against Billy, but it would allow so many more options for Billy players, especially if they go through the rest of his add-ons and change things up. The main thing with a base kit rework is you want to make sure that you buff his base kit enough so that he can utilize more add-ons. Only being stuck to like Doom, Low Pro, Death Engravings if you want to have fun, and maybe Carburetor, where's Carburetor? Carburetor Tuning Guide, is really bad. That's literally 4 add-ons he can use, and he pretty much has to use one of them at all times if he wants to be viable. So that's kind of where I'm going with these changes. Anyway, those are the basic things. Obviously, we want overheat removed, like I've said. Overheat right now is really a non-factor. It doesn't really do anything unless you're playing Drift Billy, in which case Drift Billy, it's such a niche build that you don't really run it every game or ever, unless you're just wanting to go do it for the memes, you know? Anyway, as a quick summary, for the base kit changes, I want overheat to be gone, I want Doom Engravings to be base kit, and if Doom Engravings isn't base kit, I want low pro chains or some iteration of low pro chains to be base kit. Anyway, let's go on ahead and take a stroll through his add-ons. I'm pretty sure I have all the add-ons. Yeah, that should be all of them. But yeah, let's go ahead and take a stroll through his add-ons and propose changes, propose additions, etc., etc. Now, Apex Muffler and Iridescent Brick are actually 2 add-ons that I really like the concept of as like meme add-ons. But if we look at other killers, like let's go with fucking Hag. Where's Hag at? There she is. So if we look at other killers like Hag, most of her like meme add-ons are, or like her gimmicky add-ons are actually purple. So I honestly think that those 2 particular add-ons should just be moved to purple rarity. The only purple add-on that like I think that can just straight up be removed, I think Low Pro should move up to Iridescent just due to the fact that it's such a strong add-on. If they don't incorporate it into base kit at some sort, then I definitely think it should be moved to Iridescent because it is one of his stronger add-ons. Yeah, but I think both of these add-ons should go ahead and move to purple so that they maintain their meminess while not taking up Iridescent slots for better add-ons. Now, we've already talked about Low Pro. Low Pro is amazing, doesn't need to be changed. I think Low Pro could stay the same. But Pig House Gloves, absolute garbage. Literally one of his worst add-ons. I don't care what anybody says. This add-on pisses me off. So basically what this add-on does is when your chainsaw is overheated, you gain a 20% action speed. That includes your breaking generators, breaking walls, breaking pallets, etc. But it also decreases duration of pallet stuns. So it's like a built-in enduring and brutal strength. My issue with it is that it pretty much does nothing. The only time that you would get value out of this add-on is if you purposefully drifted around the map for a solid 10 seconds to overheat and then tried to use it while it's in its overheat phase. This add-on is absolute fucking garbage. Let's go on to kind of talk about what the changes should be for this add-on. Honestly, I'm a member of the crowd that thinks he should have his cooldown add-ons back, so I kind of want Pig House Gloves to give him his cooldown back. And it could be either of these 2 things. It could either be he gets his cooldown after a missed chainsaw, so let's say like 20% or so. So instead of, you know, cooling down for 3 seconds, he cools down for whatever it is, like 2 point whatever seconds. And it would just make him feel a lot better to play. It would make zoning a lot easier. It would make, he would just feel less like a slog when you miss, you know? You should still be punished, so I don't want it to be something crazy like, oh, you get fucking 80% or anything like that. But, you know, a modest 20% I think would be nice. I don't think that would really warrant a purple, maybe a green. I think moving it to green and doing that would be good. But that's kind of what I want for Pig House Gloves. They could also do it with chainsaw hits. And this is actually an idea I've bounced off lots of other Billy players. And I think they kind of agree with me, or at least most people I've talked to have. When you down somebody and there's somebody else nearby, it feels really, really good to have a faster cooldown. So that you're able to hit them, kind of cut back from your cooldown quicker, and then immediately start chasing again. It really helps his snowdown potential, and kind of really helps him at all times keep the pressure up, especially when survivors group up. Now, again, I want modest numbers. I don't want it to be something crazy like, oh, it decreases your cooldown by 50%, so you can just fucking chainsaw people back to back. No. I think something modest like 15-20% again is probably good. Bubba actually had one of these add-ons and it made him feel really, really good. They ended up removing it with his buff, but having the ability to snowball quicker would feel a lot better for a lot of Billy players, and would also make him a little bit easier to learn, because people could throw on this add-on and then when they actually get it down with their chainsaw, they get rewarded by being able to spread pressure, which is something that Billy is really good at with his mobility. So I just think that this is, you know, an idea that we could use for this add-on. Spiked boots, I don't think needs to be changed. Only thing spiked boots needs to be changed is its recovery time after hitting an object needs to just straight up be removed. This item is not strong enough to have that big of a penalty. Using this add-on, if you don't just drift around the map, is pointless. Because if you hit something, you're literally standing there for a solid 4 seconds. It is so bad. It's actually not 4 seconds. It's like 3 point something seconds, but it feels like an eternity. It's so bad. It's just the recovery time just needs to be removed. Everything else about this add-on is fine. Tune Carburetor, straight up remove the base movement speed debuff. Like, just straight up remove it. Tune Carburetor on its own is a really strong add-on. I honestly think Tune Carburetor is one of the few add-ons in the purple rarity that are actually warranted. This add-on is very good. Remove the base movement speed debuff, and I would say, honestly, to just move the chainsaw speed down to like 20%. And I think a Tune Carburetor would be great. It could be left at 25% too. I have no issue with that. But if they were going to end up nerfing it, or it ended up being too strong without the debuff, they could nerf it down to like 20%. I think it would be fine. Now, Black Grease increases chainsaw charge speed for 18% for 30 seconds after being blinded. I really like this add-on. The only change that I would make is because it's only after being blinded, which meant that if you have Lightboard on or something else, or, you know, something of that nature, or they don't fully blind you, you actually don't get the effect. I think it should be when somebody shines you in the eyes with a flashlight at all. If you get any blind progress, you should get that charge speed. And I think this would be a way to allow him kind of a niche way to punish flashlights. Because, you know, he has a little perk called Lightborn that, you know, deflects flashlights. So I think it would be really, really funny to actually utilize his lore a little bit here and allow you to throw on Lightborn, for instance, and then just stare into somebody's flashlight and gain 30 seconds of 18% charge speed. I think that would be sick. In combination with this, though, they need to make chainsaw charge speed add-ons not stack. All they would have to do is make sure that you'd only get affected by the highest value. So if you have this on, it's basically a dead add-on. It does nothing if you run it with Tune Carburetor. But if you have this add-on and, let's say, Mama's Helpers, this one also does 18%. So it would just take whatever add-on is in the first slot. And these two could actually be used together because they're actually two different use cases. So it would give you two different ways to proc this this buff. Now, speaking of Mother's Helpers, since we're already here, Mother's Helpers, I think, is a really fun niche add-on. I honestly think these two add-ons could stay, and I'd be okay with it. There's only just that little change I wanted to Black Grease, and that's about it. Now, Leafy Mash. Gain the undetectable status effect for 15 seconds after landing a chainsaw hit. I like the idea of this add-on, but it needs to be changed. The only issue with this is by the time you get a chainsaw hit, get it down, hook them, that's like 10 seconds gone, depending on how far the hook is. Oh, and including the travel time to the rest of the survivors and finding survivors. Like, by the time you down somebody, unless there is literally somebody in your terror radius and you have like infectious, or you just so happen to see somebody or something like that, this add-on does nothing. And if you saw them, chances are they saw you, and this add-on did nothing. So I want it to be longer. I honestly think like 30 seconds, or until you hit a survivor, so that survivors can force an M1 to get you out of undetectable. Leafy Mash, if you get a chainsaw hit with it, should reproc. So what I'm kind of thinking for the overall final buff is I want it to last for 30 seconds. I want it to disable after a hit, so that if survivors can force an M1 still. And then I want it to reproc after getting another chainsaw hit, so that if you play really well and you utilize it well, you can literally just hop from down to down and stay undetectable. I think that would be a really, really cool use for this add-on. Another really, really cool use case is Leafy Mash could then be paired with Apex Muffler, so that your saw is silent and they can't hear you coming. I think that would be a really, really cool synergy to have in the game. Now, low kickback chains decreases recovery time after hitting an object with a chainsaw by 28%. This add-on's fine. It can honestly stay in the game. Literally all this is good for is like newer billies, or if you want to be really, really funny and do bump logic billy, this is a pretty funny add-on for that. It doesn't help enough to actually do anything. It's just kind of a meme thing. But it helps out newer billy players, so I would highly recommend keeping this in the game, especially if Doom gets a buff. If Doom gets a buff, I honestly think this should be moved down in rarity, specifically so it's more accessible to newer players. This also leaves open a green add-on slot for a new add-on. Now down to the yellow rarity add-ons. Big Buckle decreases tear radius by 8 meters when chainsaw is overheated. Garbage for the exact same reason Pig House Gloves is garbage. It's just trash. Absolute trash add-on. Literally no reason to use this. You could run Monitor and Abuse and get the same effect of this add-on 24/7. You don't need this add-on. I don't even know what to do with this piece of shit. I honestly would just straight up put another add-on on top of it. Put another Pig House Glove thing with like cooldown there and just make it weaker. Like, this is garbage add-on. Just remove it, replace it with something else. Dad's Boots is literally what Spiked Boots should be, but without the downside. Like, Dad's Boots is just infinitely better than Spiked Boots just because it doesn't have a downside. So I would highly recommend just leaving this as is and then just remove the downside on Spiked Boots, and these two will be fine. Now, Death Engravings, kind of the same thing as Doom Engravings. I do want Doom Engravings to be base kit. But here's what I want to do, specifically the add-ons, if Doom Engravings becomes base kit. Doom Engravings plus Death Engravings nets a 35% increase in chainsaw speed. Now, Billy moves at 200% movement speed, which is double Survivor speed. So with double Engravings, he moves at 235%. I don't think he really needs to be faster than that. So what I would do is I would take this 15% here from Death Engravings, split it between both add-ons. So that would be, what, 7.5% for both of them? Or even better, to keep the rarities, make this 10%, make this 5%. And then obviously remove the heat generated part if we remove overheat. This is a lot of assumptions here, but these are the changes that I want to make. I think that would be sick. Having doubles with low pro, like, people have told me that it's like it would be too overpowered or it would be too much. I highly disagree. I think it would be fantastic. And that's not because I'm just a Billy main. I've played against Billies. I've played against doubles Billies. Doubles is extremely easy to outplay. Like, extremely easy. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and move on to off-brand motor oil. Decreases noise made chainsaw by 30%. Base kit. Base fucking kit. In fact, make it 50% and make it base kit. The chainsaw is far too loud. I'm sorry. The fact that you can hear exactly where Billy is on a tile at pretty much all times is insane. And not only that, but you can literally hear Billy coming in his saw from a mile away unless you run Apex Muffler. You don't even need to hear a tear radius. You can literally hear him coming from across the fucking map. Like, his chainsaw is far too loud. And that actually brings me to something else I actually forgot to mention for his base kit. I want the roar removed, or at least lowered dramatically. Survivors don't even have to look behind them. Survivors don't even have to really look behind them when going against Billy now. They can kind of just listen for the roar and then peel out, which I think kind of removes the skill out of playing against Billy a little bit. So I think the roar should be removed, and that kind of goes hand in hand with removing, or with buffing this add-on and straight up making it base. Punctured Muffler. Increases chainsaw's rate of cooling by 50%. This literally doesn't make any sense now. It used to be really, really good with the old overheat, but now it's kind of trash because overheat is a non-factor. And if they remove overheat, this is going to do nothing. Heavy clutch decreases with the chainsaw collision zone by 30%. Base kit. Base kit that shit. Because Billy suffers so much from the garbage collision on this game. Like, before the Billy change, heavy clutch I think used to be base kit. Because you could actually 180 the truck tiles from way farther back. Now, it wasn't like super, super far. Like, you can do it halfway on the truck. But you could do it from pretty far back. You could 180 trucks still. Because you would curve into the corner and slide off of it a little bit. And it'll allow you to go around. So I think heavy clutch should be base. It'll also help with a little bit of the really, really weird hits that you see. Because sometimes, I swear to God, somebody's literally off my screen and I hit them. So it would kind of help out with that a little bit, make hits look a little bit more accurate. and increase the skill level of Billy players a little bit by just making them have to be a little bit more accurate with their saws. Now moving on, junkyard air filter, increase the chance of overheat limit. Again, this is probably going to do nothing here soon if they do remove overheat. So I kind of want to wait before I say anything about this. But we definitely need more help in the commons front, like common and yellows, just because a lot of these add-ons just do nothing. Speed limiter, we should honestly stay. I honestly want to keep speed limiter as is. It's been a meme add-on. It's kind of a staple of Billy. So speed limiter can stay. And then obviously for steel toe boots, just keep it. The new players need all the help they can get. But yeah, that's my overview of the Billy rework and what I want in the game. Whether or not they do what I suggested is, only time will tell. But yeah, in case you guys don't know, I am back to streaming on Twitch. So if you guys do want to go on ahead and drop a follow down below, that would really, really mean a lot to me. I also have a Twitter. If you weren't able to kind of keep up with me, it's because I post most of my stuff on Twitter. So that link will also be down below. That's where I posted my document where I talked about why I quit DBD for as long as I did and why I quit content creation. I'm back now, so that's kind of out of date. I'm going to keep that pinned, though, so that people know why I left. So if you do want to follow my Twitter, please feel free to do so. And my Discord is also down below if you want to join that. I'm also going to put my personal Discord name down there. So if any of you want to add me for 1v1s or just to talk, want questions, anything of that nature, you feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help people. I actually do have a Billy tutorial in the works. However, that probably will not be done for several months because I want to gather footage. I want to start writing my script. I'm coming back in full force. You will see me on here way more often. This has been Helios. I appreciate you guys. And yeah, this has been Helios. Peace out.